Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tim.
Hello.
This is the horror movie podcast. This, in particular, is our news edition of the show, which we do most weeks. We didn't have one last week, and that wasn't because of anything other than there just wasn't much news to talk about. I tried to make a news show up, and there just wasn't enough there. But we're here this week. We got some stuff. We got sad news to start on, unfortunately. But we got some trailers to talk about. We got some delays, of course, to talk about. That's every week. There's more delays because of the global pandemic of misfortune. That's the censored name of the thing. But yes, this is a horror movie show, and we will take you on a journey over the next 30 or so minutes, talking about the Screams news of choice.
Gotcha.
That was the worst introduction I have ever done for anything. So we will start, unfortunately, with some sad news, and that is that John Saxon passed away. This news just broke yesterday at the time of recording. Of course, John Saxon, horror-wise, Nightmare on Elm Street, Black Christmas, Tenebrae, bunch of B movies over the years. Like, the dude popped up in tons of stuff. And then on top of that, he was in other types of movies, of course, as well. Enter the Dragon being maybe one of his most famous.
Sure.
Yeah, because actually when I went back and watched Enter the Dragon, I'd seen it when I was a kid, but I watched it again as an adult in like my early 20s, and was surprised that he is like the second main character in that movie. Obviously, you think of that film, you think of Bruce Lee, but
right,
he is there. So he was in his 80s. He was 83. So not super young, not a terrible age, but at the same time. Always sad to hear, and he's a bit of a genre legend. So
yeah, no, it's I mean, it's not unexpected. Like it's like a lot of like actors and stuff we grew up with are starting to get to this kind of age, so it's not that uncommon. But I mean, it's always a bummer. I mean, I absolutely love the Nightmare movies, and he's just like such a huge big part of those. Obviously, being in 1 and 3, the best in the series, and again, like you said, like he just pops up in tons of random movies, especially kind of like other like B horror movies and stuff. But he's always a delight. It's always like whenever he pops up, it's always like, hey, John Saxon. It's always fun.
Yeah, even when the movie's not that good, he's usually a bright spot in the film. And he's been. Definitely. I mentioned Tenebrae, so he's been in Argento. Obviously, he's been in Craven stuff. But he's been in a couple of Bava movies. He's kind of worked with a lot of the big directors. If anything, I'm kind of shocked that he never worked with Carpenter, because it's kind of that era.
Actually, yeah, he seems
he seems like he's a perfect fit for that, but never quite happened. So he will be missed. It's just funny actually, because I saw an article just like an hour ago. I was browsing Twitter, and an actress from Gone with the Wind passed away today at the age of 104, and I'm like, jeez. All right.
Jeez.
So I mean, I don't know who we grew up with who's going to make it to that age where we're just saying, hey, they outlived everyone else in that generation. But yeah, that's true. Like a lot of people, some earlier than expected. I think I always bring up Bill Paxton as one who went early. Because he was only in his early 60s, but that's one that kind of hit. And this does too. But like, at least he's in his 80s. He's not in his 60s, so it's not as like tragically young as some of these ones tend to be. But yeah, no, a lot of actors we have grown up with are getting to that age now where it's like, oh, they're all in their 80s now. So I guess this is the sort of news item we can expect fairly consistently for the next while. I mean, maybe forever.
Rest of our lives.
Yeah, maybe we're just at that age now where like there's always people who are older than us who are going to be hitting this kind of age range who we're going to hear stories about. Maybe it's just that perk of in your with the exception of the odd tragic young passing, your first 20 or so years, there's not a lot of deaths that maybe affect you that much, because because everyone's young enough, I suppose. But once you get that age where, the actors you watch growing up are all 30 years older than you, or in this case, more like 50. But still.
Unless like you're some weirdo who's like 10 years old and only watches movies from the 50s or something.
That's true. Yes. I mean, yes, your taste in movies might affect this, but yeah, I mean the equivalent of this, I don't know, is like a kid just now watching like Robert Downey Jr. maybe. So when Robert Downey Jr.'s passes, hopefully in his later years, but those kids are maybe in their 30s, maybe hitting their 40s. This is the equivalent in terms of age gap. I don't know. But yeah, so it's a shame. So Nancy's dad from Elm Street.
Yep.
And he's in the even superior Black Christmas, I will add on.
Wow. Hot take.
Yeah, you heard me.
Well, he's hopefully he's up in heaven battling Freddy and all other types of monsters.
Sure. Sure. All right, let's talk about delays. Not surprising.
Oh.
Everything's been getting pushed to the point where
Why?
I mean, why?
Yeah. What happened?
Well, the theaters are all closed, Tim. I don't know. I mean,
Still?
as someone who's been forced to work from home for the last several months, I feel like you have a fair idea as to what's going on in the world.
It feels like I was just just hopping and skipping down to the theater to watch The Boy 2 just yesterday.
That may have been the last movie I saw in theaters. Oh, that's so depressing.
I think me too.
That's so depressing.
Go out with a bang.
Oh, no. Opposite of a bang. A wet fart, more like.
Ew.
So, which I believe that the kids call that a shart. If I'm getting the terminology right. So A Quiet
Kids are
Place.
gross.
A Quiet Place Part 2 was actually one of the first things that were delayed, if I remember correctly, because that was meant
That
to
sounds
be
about
out.
right.
Because that was meant to be in like March, April time, and it was one of the first things that were like announced to be pushed because of what was going on. And back then it was like, oh, because the next couple of months there won't be anything out, but they'll all be back for summer. Here we are in July. How foolish we were. So it's actually been pushed back now to April 23rd, 2021, which is basically a full year from its original release date. Just over a year, actually, because it was March 20th that it was meant to come out. So, yeah.
Sounds about right.
So we'll see if we actually have movies back in theaters for next April. It's so funny because it was just this week as well that Disney pushed back basically everything in their extended calendar back by a year. All of the Star Wars and Avatar films they've got planned all just went back a year, just by default.
The Star Wars one surprised me. I was like, wait, I thought they kind of like, obviously they're gonna make new Star Wars movies eventually, but I thought they kind of were gonna give up for a little bit.
Well, there was like a 2-year gap or something like that, but their plan for the last like 2 years was always to have like alternating Star Wars and Avatar at Christmas. That was kind of the game plan.
Oh joy!
So now it's starting a year later. Yeah, I'll look forward to half of that arrangement. I'll look forward to every other year.
Okay.
The years that don't have Star Wars. Let me make that very clear.
Yes, we get it. We get it.
Star Wars sucks.
Oh yeah, but Avatar is great.
Better than most Star Wars.
Okay. Another hot take.
Oh, I'm full of hot takes, Tim. I'll give you all the hot takes.
Like I do think like I saw the first Avatar in theaters and like it was fine. Like I didn't think it was great, but I mean I didn't hate it, but it's definitely nothing like I've ever had the desire to go back and rewatch or see more of again. Like the idea of someone like being super into like more Avatar movies like seems kind of weird to me, but
I mean, I'm not
whatever.
really super into more Avatar. I'm super into more James Cameron movies. I think there's a difference.
Yeah.
So I have faith that he will top the first one.
Okay. I mean, if it looks good, I mean, well, I'll obviously see it at some point. Like, I mean, if it has like a really good trailer and sounds cool, like maybe I'll go to theaters. But I mean, I'll see it eventually. I'm just not like, woohoo, can't wait.
Here's something you care about.
Okay.
Antlers, produced by Guillermo del Toro,
Yes.
has also been pushed back. It is now got a release date of February 19th, 2021.
Okay. Interesting.
Everything's 2021 now. That's just
Yeah, that makes sense.
and that's if they actually come out. They may end up being 2022, depending on how things go.
I do wonder if there is a like I know that you don't want to put everything on VOD because eventually when theaters reopen you are going to need movies to show. So like I mean I do want to see this stuff in theaters, but yeah, part of me is like at what point do you just say, screw it, VOD, $20, whatever.
Well, I think there's a couple of problems with it. One is that some of the, I mean, maybe not these horror movies, admittedly, but some of the movies just fundamentally cannot make their budget back if they're not released to theaters worldwide.
Sure. It's not like I get like Black Widow not doing that,
Yeah.
but yeah, like something like Antlers, like was that going to be like a huge
The other
thing?
potential issue is that some of these movies have like deals with their cast members where the cast, like it has to be released theatrically because the cast are like owed a back end, or like, there's like contractual obligations where they can't just say, oh, we'll just shove it to VOD.
Interesting. Okay.
Because but in fact, one of the reasons why they suspect that New Mutants is still sticking to a theater release is because there's issues with like that Fox already had deals in place that Disney have to adhere to, and if they don't put it in theaters, then something else. I don't know. I think actually it might just be that somewhere else has the streaming rights, so if they don't put it in theaters, they actually have to give it up to like Netflix or something like that. They have to give it to a rival platform.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't know how true that is, but so many things in Hollywood get messed up because of weird contractual like ties and like a web of shit that I can buy it. I could totally buy that it's a possibility. So yeah. So Antlers is February 2021. Quiet Place 2 is April 2021. And speaking of more delays, The Conjuring 3, or to use its correct title, The Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It, which was supposed to be September this year, is now coming in June 4th, 2021.
Okay.
So, hey, 2021's looking pretty packed.
Yeah.
Mainly because it's got all the 2020s movies and probably a few 2021 movies. Although, at this point, like I feel like we're just going to have 2020's a skip year and everything just get pushed back a year after that. That's what it's starting to feel like.
Yeah, it'll mostly be 2020 movies and then like, however many like Zoom horror movies they can get off the ground.
Hey, there's at least one NBC comedy that's going to be all Zoom calls. It's just
oh, can't wait.
Yeah, comedy set during the quarantine.
Exciting.
Yeah. All right, that's your delays for the week. Edgar Wright has set up a project. Obviously, we're still waiting on his film Last Night in Soho, which is being pushed back as well, as we've heard. But he's working on a film. He's going to direct Stage 13 for Amblin Pictures. Simon Rich, who worked on Saturday Night Live, is writing the film. It's an adaptation of his short story. It was first published in Rich's collection, Hits and Misses, released in 2018. Here's the description as we have it. The film follows the ghost of a silent film era actress that has haunted the titular soundstage of a backlot for decades. After a struggling director meets the ghost, they find an unexpected kinship and team to make their mark on the world.
Interesting.
Yeah. Interesting that that Edgar Wright is returning to the horror realm. Although this one doesn't actually sound that much of a horror movie per se. It's got a ghost in it, but it sounds like it's going to be a bit more, I don't know, friendly than.
Yeah, like I mean that that last little bit where it starts talking about them teaming up or whatever. Like, okay, I'm wondering how much of it is going to be horror-ish, but I mean, again, like I like Edgar Wright, so pretty much down to check out whatever he's cooking up.
Horror themed is maybe a better descriptor. All right, next up, Netflix has made a 7-figure deal to acquire a short horror story called My Wife and I Bought a Ranch, and it was a short story that was originally posted on Reddit of all places.
Wow.
Matt Query wrote the story. Harrison Query is writing the film adaptation. So they're making a movie out of this. The story. Yeah,
some crap you put on Reddit.
Yeah, I should start writing short stories for Reddit. Maybe I'll get a nice big movie deal. The story involves a couple, Harry and Sasha, who find their dream house in a ranch in Idaho. He's a soldier getting back to life, and they bid what they can, which is a lowball offer. They get the ranch, but find that they are not alone. Soon they meet the neighbors, who inform them that there is a malevolent spirit in the valley, one that manifests itself by coming to the house in the same manner at the start of each season. There are certain steps that must be followed to keep the spirit out of the house, and the tension and violence grows with each gory ritual as the duel between the spirits and the ex-Marine soldier becomes personal.
Okay. All right. I mean, I don't know. All these like kind of like online creepy pasta stories, they all kind of sound like the same to me. Like it's always like some like weird ritual you have to do, and if you don't, I don't know. I don't know why like everyone is so obsessed with like these kind of like rituals. I don't know, it seems weird to me, but I don't know. Could be cool, I guess, but nothing about that necessarily excites me too much. Because it just kind of sounds like the same online story I've heard a million times.
I mean, honestly, at this point, for something supernatural, spirit or haunting or whatever, I feel like you have to really wow me to get me to give a shit from a description, because I'm so sick of these movies at this point that this just sounds like more of the same. So unless I see a trailer and it blows me away, I'm going to go into this with a, prove me wrong attitude, which is maybe not how you should go into movies, but unfortunately sometimes you're just in that mood. So
yeah, no, like I mean, obviously I'm very willing to give it a shot, but like, yeah, just nothing about that immediately leaps to me like, okay, all right, this sounds like nothing I've seen before and could be cool.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, like, maybe I'm just bitter because, like, I'm just thinking, like, why is this random person getting like 7-figure deals out of nowhere?
That should be me. I'm a writer.
Yeah. I post dumb shit online. I want that many figures.
So, next up,
Jeez, 7 figures. That's like almost $1 million. Jeez.
Tim. Well, how much do you think?
Moving on.
7 figures.
Moving on.
Some might say it's at least $1 million, Tim.
Sure.
Mathematicians, for example, would say it's at least $1 million. Just throwing that out there. All right. Owen Lakinin's novel The Wild has been picked up by HBO Max for a film adaptation. So HBO Max are making movies now. That's something we have to contend with. Patrick Bryce, who directed Creep, is signing on to write and direct. The story it centers on Dawn. She's not a bad person. She's just made some bad choices. Wrong guy, wrong friends, wrong everything. But she wasn't expecting her parents to pay a boatload of money to ship her off to Out of the Wild, a wilderness boot camp with a bunch of other messed up kids to learn important life lessons. Dawn and the other cubs wind up learning a lot, but not what they expect, for what happens in the woods isn't what their parents planned. Sometimes plans go very wrong, and this is one of those times. Suddenly Dawn is more scared than she ever has been in her whole life. But it's fine, because Buffy will come and save her like halfway through, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So easy.
Yes. She has the same name as a character from that show with many characters with different names.
The hit television show. Hey, to be fair, a lot of the names in that show are kind of weird. There's only a few of them that could pop up in other things. Like, how many Cordelias and Xanders have you run into? Exactly. Yeah, not a lot. That's what I thought.
True. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess that sounds like an okay premise, and I mean, yeah, obviously like Creep quite a bit, so yeah, this could be cool. Yeah, again, it'll kind of depend, like, once you see or hear a little bit more about it. I do wonder if it is gonna be like maybe like kind of like darkly funny or something, like in a similar way to Creep, because yeah, just that kind of like setting and everything sounds like, not something I would usually think of as being like, very serious, because it kind of sounds like like whatchamacallit, like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, or whatever, like in the wilderness, like, oh, okay, yeah, that might be kind of a dark comedy thing. So I don't know, it could be cool.
The book cover looks dead serious to me, but we'll see. I mean, the director's obviously the biggest selling point right now. The director of Creep is the biggest selling point that it has, but we'll see. We'll see. So before we get to trailers, this one actually had a trailer as well, but the trailer is actually like a month old, so I didn't bother sending it to Tim. But I thought it was worth mentioning because it's got a release date now. It's apparently a slasher film called Open 24 Hours, and it's coming to VOD digital and DVD. I don't know what digital means, like separate from VOD. I thought VOD just is digital, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's coming on August 18th, so this is something we might be looking at come late next month, early September maybe. And director Padraig Reynolds. Oh, everyone disappeared for a second. Director Patrick Reynolds.
Yep.
Not Patrick. Padraig. It's a really weird first name. Padraig.
Padraig.
A paranoid, delusional woman, Mary White, has just been released from a mental hospital for setting her serial killer boyfriend on fire. I mean, that seems justified, quite frankly.
Yeah. Okay.
Mary suffers from severe paranoia and hallucinations. Her boyfriend, James Lincoln Fields, is a brutal serial killer known as the Rain Ripper. He enjoyed murdering people and making Mary watch. After being released from hospital, Mary's vulnerable demeanor aids her in obtaining employment at an all-night gas station. However, left alone to her own devices, her paranoia and hallucinations return with furious consequences. Things take a gruesome turn when customers and friends suddenly start turning up dead and mutilated all around her.
That actually sounds pretty cool. I like the premise. Sounds like a little wild. Like, she's crazy, but then her boyfriend is also like a serial killer. So that could be interesting. And I like the setting, like going to a gas station like in the middle of the night. That's always kind of creepy. And
hey,
cool.
the best story in Body Bags, the Carpenter anthology.
Yeah, definitely
was definitely the gas station one. Yeah. So maybe good. I mean, right away it sets up this idea for at least for a portion of the movie, we're going to be suspecting, is any of this real, or is it her being paranoid? Is there really a killer? And if there is a killer, is it her? Maybe is she snapped and she's hallucinating and doing things? I mean,
yeah, it could. I could see that going either way, because it seems like, okay, then there's like a lot of cool stuff you can kind of play with, where it's like, all right, yeah, is this real or is it in her head? But then it also seems like it could be possibly like a cheap gimmick to get away with, like, not like dream sequences, but kind of shitty, like, versions of things like that. So that maybe it could go either way, but I would say I'm at least intrigued for now.
Yeah. Well, I'll take us on to the trailers, starting off with the hotly anticipated Terrifier 2, which got a teaser trailer just yesterday, just over a minute long. And it's kind of a funny thing because this almost doesn't need a trailer. Like, all you have to do is say Art the Clown is back and he's killing people in gory, nasty ways, and we're basically sold. But the teaser trailer does sort of set up the idea that there's a bit of a legend that's growing around him now, and this kid's like, oh, I never found that clown's body. He might, he might come back. So, now, what did you think of the teaser?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, we like the first Terrifier movie, and this kind of just looks to be more of the same, which I think for this kind of like slasher movie is what you want. Like, I don't need them to break the mold, or I don't need like art origins, or like something dumb like that. Like, it just looks to be like more of the same. Like you said, art's back, and it looks like it's gonna be just as brutal as the first one. Like, there's plenty of blood in this, and then at the end showing him like kind of wailing on this girl that I imagine is going to be like the main character, but I mean, who knows? But
because the first one did pull a bit of a swerve on us with that, like who the main character was going to be. But what was notable though is that the girl was also like putting his head into like windows and stuff as well, so it was quite vicious on both directions, which I think is what makes the film so fun, is that not only is he a complete bastard in everything he does, but he kind of drives whoever's like running for him to kind of like fight back in like a manner of ways. So same director as the first one as well, Damien Leone. So should hopefully just be as fun as the first one, and So
I was already excited before, and then this is one of those things where it's like I don't really need to see or know more about it. Just once it's out, let's watch it. Which I forget if they give a release date or not. But,
no release date yet, but they are saying it's coming this year still. So I assume this is going to be a VOD or maybe straight to Shudder or something. I don't know.
Yeah, seems like an October release would be good. Especially for this movie. So I will be down to watch it when it comes out. Maybe we'll even do it on the show.
I'm pretty sure we will. In fact, we did the first one last October-thon, so doing the sequel when it's brand new this October-thon would be a delightful idea, wouldn't it? All right, next up we get a trailer for a new horror anthology movie called A Night of Horror Nightmare Radio, which is going to have 8 short horror stories in it, with a rapping device that looks like a radio host who's telling the stories, seemingly. So the trailer, do you know what I'll give this trailer is that I thought it did a good job of kind of separating what the different stories were. I mean, I'm not going to say I remember them all, but it was quite distinct in the trailer that it was like cycling through stories one by one, as opposed to just blah 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 blah, different things from everything that I can't really make sense of. There was clearly a story about a guy in a hospital. There was clearly a story about this like sort of horrific looking like creature in a house. There was clearly a story about a little girl finding something. There was clearly a story about some it knockoff with a balloon. You know, there was clearly different things. Now I don't know if I necessarily like the look of all of them individually. Some of them looked a little bit, you know, cliched or whatever. But how did you feel? How did you feel about the trailer?
It's kind of strange because I do agree. Like I think, like it does. There was a lot of it that I didn't think looked like great, and not necessarily like it just looks like kind of like kind of cheap generic stuff that like, you know, you see a lot of just randomly pop up on Netflix that doesn't really interest me. But maybe the fact that it's an anthology, so there's a lot of different stuff in it did kind of intrigue me more than like, yeah, I feel like if it was just like a trailer for just one of these movies or something. So I am actually like, even though I don't think it necessarily looks good, I am strangely like into it. Like, okay, I do want to see this, even though I don't know if I have like a ton of faith in it. It does seem like, I don't know if it's on purpose, but it did seem to like weirdly be playing off like trends of like the more popular like Hollywood horror movies. Like you said, there's like you know, again, I don't know if they're going for this, but it looks like a very obvious like, you know, rip off of it. Like, you know, now that like whenever you see just kind of like a single red balloon, you know, like drifting in a hole, like anywhere, it like you can't help but think of it.
Yeah. If there's 99 red balloons though, then I don't think of it. I think of 99 red balloons.
Right. Yes, the famous pop song, of course. But and then like there was the other one like where like this girl finds this kind of like creepy looking doll in the attic. It was kind of giving me like Annabelle vibes.
Yeah, I can see it.
So like and again, you know, maybe I mean maybe these are all just kind of, you know, like generic stuff that it's not necessarily trying to do it, but I did feel kind of strange that it seemed like at least a couple of the stories were like, you know, making me think of like other movies.
Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm excited either, but you never know. Maybe the actual filmmaking in each of the stories will be good. It's hard to tell, honestly.
And like and you know, who knows, like even if it is like, you know, if it's 8 stories, like, hey, I mean, if 2 are really cool, you know, at least that's something. Whereas like, you know, a lot of movies there's just like nothing good from start to finish, you know.
Yeah, this is coming out on September 1st on demand and DVD. I don't usually bother saying it, but obviously almost everything says DVD and Blu-ray. This does not say Blu-ray, it just says DVD, which honestly, releasing something just in DVD in this day and age is bizarre to me.
It's happened like a few times. Like usually it will be like a smaller movie.
Yeah.
But there has been like, you know, a couple of cases where I was like, oh, I want this. I'm like, huh, only DVD. All right. But usually it's because it's like some super small independent thing.
It's just so weird because the on-demand version is very likely going to be in HD. So it's just so weird that the on-demand version is going to be higher quality than the physical version you can buy, which just makes it feel redundant to me. But hey ho, not everyone's quality sensitive like I am. While we're on it, Shudder, could you up your bit rates, please? Maybe your resolution too while you're at it. Thanks, sweetheart.
Oh God.
Oh, come on, every time it goes to a dark scene in Shudder, it's just pixels. You just see pixels everywhere. Pixels.
Why don't you adjust your settings on your TV?
Trust me, my settings are calibrated to the highest standard. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Calibrated. You wouldn't know what good TV settings were after slapped you in the arse, Tim.
Okay.
I bet Tim's got the motion smooth and turned on in his TV and everything. He's got all the crap turned on.
What, you like non-smooth TV?
Yes! It's not supposed to be smooth. It's unnatural and alien and weird and fit for people who talk in the theater.
Okay.
because the worst. And people who zoom in their TVs to get rid of black bars, you're all scum too. Well, I'm at it. All right. Final trailer of the week. So we know we have Escape Room 2 coming up. We also know we have another film that I forget the name of, which looked like Escape Room 2, but wasn't.
From the director.
Yes,
same director.
From the director of Escape Room. But we now have.
That was like hashtag something.
Oh yeah, was it hashtag Escape? I don't know. If it wasn't
Maybe.
that, it was something kind of like that. But the Escape Room subgenre is booming because we have yet another one to talk about here. This is Escape Puzzle of Fear. And it's coming on demand and DVD, no Blu-ray again, on August 18th. We have a trailer here.
Maybe all the factories that make Blu-rays are shut down, but all the DVD factories are still open.
I don't think so. Do you know what I think it is? I think the DVDs are basically just those cheap copies in like your supermarkets and stuff, and the bargain bins that they hope people will randomly grab.
Sure.
It's not for people like us who actually research and look at trailers and stuff. we know what to avoid for the most part. Although sometimes people just have bad taste, which is also a thing.
Yeah. It's a movie by Peter Jackson.
Very good. I was more implying you with the boy, but yeah, whatever.
How dare you?
Yes. So, yeah, we got a trailer for Escape Puzzle of Fear. Hotshot Hollywood agent Matthew Blake has a dark past. He thinks he's on his way to a double date with his oldest friend to a new escape room in Los Angeles. But when the couples are locked into the escape room, Matthew quickly finds himself at the center of a revenge plot meant to right the wrongs of his past, with deadly results. Which what I thought was weird about this trailer is that it doesn't look at all like an escape room. It looks more like a haunted house attraction, but the haunted house is not a haunted house. It's like a police station and courtroom, and there's like a violent crime that's happening. It looks more like like a murder mystery weekend thing than it does an escape room to me. It looks like they're there to solve the case, because it starts off in an interrogation room, and then there's a creepy courtroom set, and I'm like, this doesn't feel like an escape room. It feels like a themed mystery rather than that. But whatever. I mean, maybe I'm nitpicking.
Yeah. What's kind of weird is one of the first shots they show the escape hotel, and I swear I've walked by that before, because I'm pretty sure that's like an escape room that's in on Hollywood Boulevard. And now I'm kind of wondering though, like, oh, I always walked by and assumed it was just like another escape room, but now I'm wondering, like, or wait, did they build it just for this movie, or was it just like the easiest like thing to just film? Like oh hey, like, is it an escape room here? We can just film this real quick. So now I'm kind of curious, but
yeah, I don't want to necessarily just accuse them of being lazy based on the trailer, but like, I feel like escape rooms, in terms of like their linkage to movies, is kind of a thing. It's not something that just because we have escape rooms in the real world now, that movies based on them are necessarily a cheap bad idea, because I think the idea of an escape room comes from movies. I think movies, like Saw or like other things, any movie where it's a group of characters who wake up in a mysterious building or something, and they have to figure out why they're there and try and figure a way to get out, that is essentially an escape room. I think the problem is that we're taking this subgenre and we're actually turning it into, they go to an escape room, oh no, it turns out to be really dangerous, it's not just a fun game. Like, yeah. And that's fine once. I'm not necessarily complaining that Escape Room exists on its own, but we have now a movie that we confuse for Escape Room 2, and now we have Escape Puzzle of Fear. So how many more are we going to get? Honestly, that's a little more like something like Haunt to me than it did an Escape Room, but whatever. I mean, I'm not going to nitpick that much. I mean, honestly, the acting didn't look that great. The production quality didn't look that great. I'm not excited by the prospect of this one, Tim. I don't know about you.
No, not really. Yeah, it didn't. I mean, again, like, I'll give it a shot. Like, it'll be, like, I mean, I'm sure it's like at least watchable, but like, yeah, there wasn't anything about this necessarily screaming out to me, and I do feel like, yeah, like you're saying, like, it reminds you more of like those kind of haunt attractions, which I also feel like we've gotten a glut of like horror movies based on that in the last couple of years. So
yeah, I remember Hellfest or Bloodfest, whatever. Well, both of those existed, but whatever one we watched is the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, there's Hellfest plus Bloodfest plus Haunt plus I think at least like a couple other ones. So, and I'm not saying that's necessarily bad or whatever, but it just seems like, that those are popular things, and it seems like people are just like, hey, this thing is popular, so like it doesn't seem like there's like a ton of thought put into it. It seems just like, hey, let's take a popular thing right now and turn it into a horror movie. Like, remember when they did that with Fantasy Island? Like, hey, let's take this popular TV show and put a horror spin on it.
No, don't say too much, because our review of that's not went out yet, but don't say
not
too
yet.
much. Not yet.
Jesus. Pete, my fantasy was to have it come out soon.
I'm not here to fulfill your fantasies, Tim.
All right. But yeah, I don't know. There wasn't anything about this that made it like stand out, like, just to kind of set it apart from other stuff and show why it like justifies for it to be here. But who knows? Maybe we'll be surprised. I don't know.
I'm not holding my breath. So that is the trailers. That has been the news. I will take this time to promote upcoming Streams After Midnight content. We do have some Shudder movies that are getting reviewed that will be out over the next little bit. I believe tomorrow you'll be getting a review for, well, today if you're a patron, because it goes up a day early on Patreon if you're a $5 or more patron pledger person. But The Beach House is the next review coming out, and we got other stuff in the pipeline. So also we did our live stream just this past weekend, Streams After Midnight, which is happening because of Patreon goals being achieved, and it will continue to happen as long as we're over a certain amount over there, and next month is pretty much guaranteed. So if you did miss it, there'll be another stream similar time in the month next month. No exact date yet, but it'll likely be a Saturday night, and fun will be had.
Probably be like closer towards the end of the month, like maybe not the last Saturday of the month, but I think we tend to usually do it a little bit later. But I mean, if you we'll try to promote it more on the shows, and then if you follow like our Twitter or whatever various social media stuff, we'll bring it up again before it happens. Yeah,
it's our Twitter @Screams Midnight. Perfect time to promote that. And I mentioned Patreon, of course, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. The $1 tier, you get a bonus episode of Screams After Midnight every month. Us doing an extra sort of B movie of sorts. And the last movie we did this month was Dead Heat, but that was actually the 20th bonus movie. So if you sign up now for the $1, you actually get like a whole back catalogue of reviews to plow through. Some are, fun. Some of them are like, oh, we went too obscure with this, and it's just too weird to talk about properly. But sometimes that could be fun to discover too. So go have a look at Patreon. And of course, please do like and subscribe and all that jazz. Liking is super important on YouTube. It lets YouTube know that we're worth recommending out, and more people will find us. It is the simplest, easiest, and cheapest way to show your support. Just click the old button, click that like button, smash it. Smash that like button to sound like an annoying YouTuber. Just smash it, and hit the bell as well for the subscription notifications. Hit the bell. Ding the bell. Ring Tim's bell. Ding his dong.
Kick the cat.
What? Dong his ding. Now, that has been the Screws After Midnight horror movie news for the week. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Keep watching scary movies. Goodbye.